That brings us to the domestic season, Canada Live Premier League, with that massive game at the Bowl this weekend, St Mary's against Peel, second place against first place. If you have any memories or tributes to Gordon Banks, then you can get them in 166 177, or you can email in about the Manx team's studio at manxradio.com. And we will talk now about that massive game, Tony, and we touched upon it in Friday Sport Preview. There's a lot riding on this match. How will the players be feeling this evening? Because they know, of course, there's still plenty of football to be played. All is not won or lost tomorrow, but a lot of people are saying whoever comes out on top will go on to lift that trophy.
They could do, because, this time of year we're normally still quite a few games to go, but the games are starting to run out now, and there's only 22 to be played in this league. But it's great to see, because this is a total different conversation that we normally have, because we've been talking now for 15 years plus. St George's, and you could chuck Laxey in and Russian in as well when they won it. But, they've been so consistent, and now the mould is being broken, because we're looking at two teams here. And let's look at St Mary's first, because it's been basically a rebuild job. Because at the end of last year, I think a lot of people were worried where St Mary's were going to go. And Alex Harrison, who was there, and Alex is a formidable player. He's an Ireland player, but he took the manager's job on, and to be a player's manager is so difficult. And he's been lucky that he's had people on the sideline and people helping him training. Paddy Horn's been in there, and Paddy's been there. He's got the Grand Slam that's put away in the cabinet, but he's sort of looked at it. I know he's taken a lot of advice off people. I've spoke to Lee Dixon about it, and him and Alex have always sort of been having pointers of where he should go and maybe what he should do. And I think it was the players being attracted to play for them was a bit of a coup for them, because when you look at it, the first team, when you look at Jack McVeigh, you look at Frank Jones, but then you look at Aidan Cummins, Declan Cummins, you've got Darren Hudson, Craig Murphy, and others. They've been very, very fortunate to get a hold of some, top-class players, Jack and Frank, to be able to put them in this position.
A lot of people saying that Frank Jones and Jack McVeigh, possibly the only reason they are up there in that high in the standings in the Canada Life Premier League table. But that can't be the case. They must be a good team. And we've seen, as you mentioned, those players, Darren Hudson on the score sheet last week as well. He can add in goals. They've got a lot of quality. When we've had Frank Jones here in the studio, he's always denied that St Mary's are title contenders. Do you think that's been mind games? Do you think he's been trying to keep his players focused on the job in hand, not get carried away with how well they're doing in the league? But if they win tomorrow, they will go top. If they draw, they're still in pole position because they win their game in hand. They've got superior goal difference. And if
an easier run.
Exactly. If you look at the games still to play, Peel have got St George's and Corinthians, Old Boys as well. And Old Boys are a potential banana skin for any side. You don't really want to come up against them unless you're Moran or Douglas Royal. So the run-in looks more difficult for Peel. Does that put the onus on Peel? Does that put more pressure on them to win tomorrow?
I don't think so, because, football has a habit of throwing something bizarre up. And let's have a look at Peel's team tomorrow, because, Owen Dawson at the start of the season, he's come in and he's done really well. But then when you look at the rest of the team, there's so many places positions can be filled by different people. And I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, because I believe Dominic McCreevy is still unfit, and he's missed quite a few weeks now. Luke Doherty's not available, so they're going to have to bring a centre-back partnership in now. Do they go Kes Christian? Do they go Eric Kelly? Do they go Tom Wood? Do they go Andrew Crennel? Do they go Matthew Woods? Matthew Woods played centre-back last week. It's something that Steve Faulkner will have in his head what he's going to do. I think from the forward line backwards, it sort of picks itself a little bit, because, Sean Kelly's long throws are like corners. So that's always a massive plus for you. You've got Rhys Oates, who's been scoring goals for fun and playing really well. You've got Lee Gale, who's been playing, magnificent down that right-hand side. And then you've got the hub in that middle of Daniel Bell. Mark Kelly's come in on recent weeks. You've got, Matthew Woods, who can go in there. sort of bodes really well for them. But I just think, Steve's got to be clever tomorrow with his defensive partnership. And I don't know, Tom Wood could play left back, but I like Tom at centre half, and I think, as centre back, he's a future Ireland centre back. I really can see that coming. So, Falky's going to be sorting himself out, and may the best team win. But what a great time to have it. We're still a good chunk of the season to go. It's not sort of the be all and end all. Both clubs, if they lose, have still got great opportunities. But to have a game of this magnitude that we haven't had for a long, long time in the league, it's great to see.
People will obviously point to the Railway Cup.
Yep.
Silverware already in the bank for Peel. Do you think that was a true reflection of the St Mary's side in the big game environment, though, considering they did have notable absentees when they lost to St George's in that semi-final at the Bowl?
They did, and that's one thing that surprises me a little bit with St Mary's, because St Mary's are going to win the Combination League. People are going to say they've already won it, but unfortunately they played an ineligible player, so they've been deducted 6 points. Genuine mistake, but rules are rules. And St Mary's have accepted it and said, yep, okay, the paperwork wasn't quite right, but I'm sure that they're still going to win that. But, when players have come in for them, and you take out, people like Jack and Frank, who have been pretty well ever present, but it's the forward line that has always been something that not too sure. And I just wonder tomorrow if Alex might just go with Luke Booth. He's been scoring plenty of goals, and it's nothing against anybody else, but he's very direct. He's a great goal scorer, and he might just be able to cause one or two problems up there. But it's like anything, Chris. When the game comes, you field your best team. You win, you lose. But this here is a huge game, because if either win and take the points away from the team that's closest to them, then it does give them the confidence boost that they need. Not saying that both teams need some confidence, but that's what happens.
And we talk about big game players. Lee Gale has been phenomenal for Peel, as has Rhys Oates, many tipping him to win the Player of the Year. They will be key to any success that Peel have tomorrow, surely.
Well, they are, and that's where, depending on who plays right back, who plays left back, because Lee will play direct down that right-hand side. Rhys floats, and that's his best place, because he can take players on. He's clever, he's quick, and there's nothing worse for a defender is a player that sort of 1 minute you're looking at him and the next minute you're looking for him because you don't know where he's gone. Rhys reminds me a little bit of Neil Shimon, because Neil Shimon was like that. Neil sort of sat deep, one of the greatest goal scorers Manx football's had, and you'd be marking him, and then suddenly you'd lost him. And Rhys has brought that into his game this year, and I think it's helped with Steve Faulkner and his teammates at Peel, but also being in the Ireland squad. I think Paul Jones, Lee Dixon, Steve Burns have got that extra mileage out of Rhys. I thought last year, with Rick Holden about and everything else, that helped, but unfortunately this year he's got for St John's, he's gone to Peel, and he's been in great form, and it's a big problem that St Mary's are going to have to deal with, is Lee and Rhys tomorrow afternoon.
And comparisons with Neil Shimon, what a compliment for Rhys Oates there. Tony, hand on heart, which way do you see the game going tomorrow? And consequently, who do you think will lift the Canada Life Premier League trophy come the end of the season?
I've said Peel now since just before Christmas, and when I watched them in the Railway Cup final as well, they played really well. They've got a strong squad, a very experienced squad to pick from. I think St Mary's do rely heavily on Frank and Jack. They're arguably two of the best players on the island, and I found an actual clipping, a paper that Andy Dalrymple did, I think, of Jack McVeigh. He was 14 years of age and going for trials, and I'd love to show it to Jack, and if he was happy with it, we'd put it out on social media, because it just showed where Jack was at 14 years of age. And he's so clever. Tomorrow afternoon, if there's free kicks close to the box for St Mary's, then Jack's going to be taking them. He can score from there, or he can set them up from there. When you look at Frank Jones recently, the last game he scored a hat-trick, and Frank can do that, so he can get the best out of his teammates as well. But I just think player for player, when you look at Peel and you look at St Mary's, you just say to yourself, Peel are slightly stronger.
Peel have got the points on the board. St Mary's have a game in hand. They've taken 22 of a possible 24 points since they lost in that reverse fixture to Peel. It really is on a knife edge. And the one place to keep up to date with all of the developments is right here at Manx Radio tomorrow from 12:30, where we begin with the Saturday Sport preview.